time and create like the AirNow maps and AQI products to provide to the public. But we also have a great website, AirNowTech, for air quality professionals such as yourselves to help you, organize your data, view data from other neighboring agencies, and produce things like forecasts and get in touch with your communities. Some tools out there for you to use that EPA makes available. So I'm going to get started. The first half of this presentation is going to be on how AirNow calculates AQI. So let me just go ahead and get that started here. And I think I might have had a message from Frank. Let me see here. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, that was
a message from LW. I'm not sure who that is. They're not getting audio feedback. I think, did you call the number, or are you hoping they can?
Yeah, we fixed the problem. We just used the conference line.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Okay. So here we go. So for the AQI, just to start, there are actually two major types of air quality reporting. There's the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, the NACS, and then there's real-time AQI. And I'll go over the differences and how they're related. Real-time AQI reporting, we have two different types for that. There's the daily peak AQI, and then we also, for AirNow, we have an ozone 8-hour surrogate and the PM25, the 24-hour nowcast. So in real time, when we don't have 24 hours available, we have a nowcast for that. And then I'll go over briefly some resources we have for real-time AQI. So for attainment status reporting, this is based on the NACS, the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. Reporting for for attainment status is based on official, verified, fully quality assured data. So not in real time. That data is not available in the AQS system for at least 3 months, usually more, after the data are recorded. But for real-time reporting, we have an AQI scale, the Air Quality Index, which is based on the NACS. And where 101 on the AQI scale corresponds to the federal health standard. So for real-time reporting, as opposed to attainment status reporting, it's unofficial, it's only partially quality controlled, and it's on an hourly basis, just for calculating the AQI. But it's a great tool to communicate real-time air quality information to the public. We use the same AQI scales and colors for all of the pollutants and across the U.S., so it's all standardized. And then the public can use that information to protect their own health, and it helps agencies to communicate air quality information. So for the daily peak AQI, AirNow, we report a daily peak AQI for 3 pollutants: ozone, PM10, and PM25. Those are the only 3 right now. And you can see down there at the bottom in the table, there are all of the ranges that correspond for each pollutant on the right-hand side. They correspond with the AQI values listed on the left, and then the category name as well. So you can see the different ranges there. Daily peak AQI for ozone is calculated from the daily maximum 8-hour average. So for all of the 8-hour averages recorded throughout a full 24 hours, we take the daily maximum. And then for PM25 and PM10, that's a simple midnight to midnight average, so just for the whole day. Now, that is only available once we have a full day worth of data. So when we don't have a full day's worth of data, we have the real-time surrogate. For ozone, the surrogate is estimating the midpoint of the current 8-hour ozone average. And then in real time, what we do is we have a linear regression that we've created based off of historical data, and that relates the daily maximum 1 hour and 8-hour data. So we have an equation down there below where your surrogate value is based on that equation, where you have a multiplier for the 1 hour ozone value x, and then an offset of b. And that helps us to predict what the 8-hour average might be. So I think it'll make a little more sense if I show you the next slide here. Every ozone monitoring site in AirNow has its own 1 hour to 8-hour surrogate relationship. And you can view that information on an agency's sites page. And I can go over that, and I can demonstrate that when we get to the AirNowTech side of things if folks want me to show you that. And on average, these relationships are such that the 8-hour average concentration tends to be about 85% of the 1 hour concentration. And so you can see down there in the plot is some example data from, it's a little old, it's from 2002, but it's the same methodology that we still use, where in dark blue we have the hourly ozone values. In yellow we have the true midpoint 8-hour average, so the rolling average throughout the day, and then our estimated or predicted 8-hour average, so that's our surrogate in that pale blue color. And it does a pretty good job of estimating what the true mid 8-hour average is. So any questions on this before I move forward? I know the surrogate is sort of a different calculation than maybe you've seen before. Okay, well, I'll move on. We can always answer questions at the end as well. Okay, so for the PM25 nowcast, the new nowcast, which was just deployed in early August, I believe it was on the 1st, it replaces a previous PM25 surrogate. So we are using, it's called the REST method, and it's based on a 12-hour average. It's a weighted average such that it is more responsive to rapidly changing air quality conditions. So when concentrations are less variable throughout the day, each hour in that 12-hour average is weighted evenly or more evenly. However, if the concentrations are very variable, so if a wildfire is sending smoke straight towards a monitor and you're seeing a spike in PM25 hourly concentrations, this nowcast will reflect that more heavily. So it'll show that the air quality is becoming poor more quickly. In addition, if smoke or if a dust event has moved out of the area and air quality is good again and folks can go back outside, it's going to reflect that air has cleaned up more quickly than the old surrogate used to. Analysis has been done by folks over at EPA, and everything looks good. It's been performing quite well during wildfires and wind-blown dust events, even recently since we've rolled it out. And just to note, to have a nowcast, we need at least 2 out of the most recent 3 hours of data. This slide here, I'm not going to go over it in great detail because there's a lot of information there. However, the slide is available on the airnow.gov FAQ page for the PM25 calculation. So if you want to come back to this, you can find it there at airnow.gov. However, I will say that for computing the nowcast, let me see if I can use my mouse here. this is where we're finding out, are conditions rapidly changing or are they fairly stable? So what we do is we take a maximum minus the minimum of these values. So in this case, the minimum being 10 micrograms and the maximum being 90. And then we can sort of scale it and say, okay, so what was the maximum concentration, and is this actually quickly changing, or is this a rapidly changing condition, or is this fairly even conditions? And then it knows what sort of weighting factor to use. But I'm not going to go into too much more detail than that on this right now. Here's an example from the Imperial Valley. The blue line is the hourly PM2.5 values. The brown line is the old surrogate, and then the black line is the current nowcast. So what you can see is that while the old surrogate used to lag behind, so in this case there was I believe it was a windblown dust event, and we had a spike of hourly readings for PM2.5, and the old surrogate would lag behind. So as hourly concentrations went up, the surrogate did not respond very quickly, and then even when concentrations dropped back down to healthy levels, the surrogate was reporting that the air quality was still poor. However, for the nowcast, the black line, you can see it responds much more quickly when conditions are getting worse, when they're worsening, and then as conditions improve, it responds more quickly. So that's sort of just an example of how it performs when there are critical, dust, windblown dust days, or wildfire smoke intrusion. And of course, the whole point of this nowcast is to better reflect changing conditions to protect public health and get the word out. So any questions really quick on the nowcast? One thing I will say is that because it's sort of a complicated computation, EPA is going to make available a interactive calculator on the AirNow.gov website. It's not available yet, but I suspect they'll announce it, and I can also, get the word out to Helen and other folks out there when it's available. And you can punch in 12 hourly values, and it'll tell you what the nowcast would be. So here's some resources for real-time AQI. We have AirNow.gov, which is a great resource. Obviously, you can get your AQI by reporting area. There are maps and animations and a concentration to AQI calculator. I have a link in there, and I can share that if you guys would like. But you can get to it from the AirNow.gov homepage. And then we also have some data feeds that you can use. We will be releasing in October, coming up here, some developer tools, and those will include web services and text files that have AQI information. And then you can also get AQI information through things like EnviroFlash RSS feeds for area, different reporting areas that may be in your area but reported by different agencies. So I guess any questions on the AQI calculations here? Pretty quiet out there. I'll move ahead and get into the sort of how to forecast air quality using AirNowTech tools and data. But just keep this in mind. If you have any questions on the AQI, you can bring that up at the end as well.
Hi, Natalie. Sorry, I did have a question.
Oh, okay, sure.
On one of your slides, I forget which one, I forgot to take down the number, but you were showing on the AQI, the concentration for ozone PMs, and it had a not applicable for the ozone hazardous
Right. There, at the hazardous level, there is no ozone AQI, so the scale actually stops right there.
Okay.
And I believe at that point, 1 hour ozone takes effect for when it gets to the to high enough levels. You want to look at the 1 hour ozone concentration.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Good question. Okay, any other questions out there?
No, we're good.
Okay, great. If anything comes up, feel free to ask at the end. All right, so let's jump into, I have some example days I'd like to use to go over how AirNowTech can be used for forecasting. But before I get started, I just want to, start out with, to forecast air quality, first you need to really become familiar with what local conditions lead to poor air quality. So the best way to do that is to do some retrospective. If you're really concerned with, critical events, things that are difficult to forecast, like wind-blown gust events, wildfire smoke, like will it be transported into my area? The best way to get experience for forecasting is to look back and try to find out what information is helpful for your local area. So just with that in mind, I have a couple retrospectives. And let me get logged in here in my demo account. All right, so the first event that I want to look at was a strong wind event on April 8th of this year. There were some high winds leading to dust and high PM10 conditions in Southern California, especially in the Owens Valley and I believe in the Imperial Valley as well. But I'll concentrate for right now in the Owens Valley area. And even though you don't have any PM10 observations perhaps in your local area, you can still find out if transport may have been a concern. So let's go ahead and run a query just to see what those values look like. I'll pull up some PM10 data. And I do know that both of these monitoring stations are provided by Tribal Environmental Exchange Network. And I believe they were the Lone Pine monitoring station and the Fort Independence monitoring station. And I will be going over to Navigator. I can show you where those stations are located if you're not sure where they are. I'm going to save that, give it a name. Okay, and let's get our dates in here. All right. It'll be easiest to work with just 1 day worth of data at a time. So here we have our graph and our hourly reading. So you can see there was a big spike at about noon on the 8th. And if I mouse over, it was 173, 1,730 micrograms. And that corresponds right down here. So that's a pretty big spike in PM10. And perhaps we want to investigate a little more what led to that. And we know because it's a retrospective that it was a high wind event. So let's pull up our wind data and see how that was behaving. So I'm just going to change this to a custom query so I can pull up the wind data. I believe it was resultant wind. So I need to be sure I choose the resultant wind speed to get those speed parameters in there. Oops. There we go. Okay, we'll have that for later. And I'm going to turn off the graph and we'll just view it in the table here. So we have here on the top line the PM10 at the Fort Independence monitoring station, and the second line is the resultant wind speed at the same station. And you can look down hour by hour, and you can see that as winds began to pick up, so this is 20.8 knots, we started to see the PM10 concentrations increase until we get to about, we're getting over 30 knots, and PM10 has already begun to spike into the above 500 micrograms range. And you can see as we move forward, winds begin to die down and the concentrations also die down here. So as the event starts to dissipate. Now, so we see this on this one day, and that's all well and good, but it's also a good idea to find out whether, this is a common event. If, high wind speed often leads to high PM10, that seems to make sense, but it's always a good idea to double check. So let's go ahead and pull up. We have this scatter plot option under the graph, and we can look back through historic data. Let's go back 1 year. And I'm going to exclude our day of interest, so I'm going to change this to the 7th, the day before the event, just so we're not including it as we're looking at historic data. And I'll make PM10 the x-axis and resultant wind speed the y-axis, and hit run here. Oops. And I already made a mistake. I wanted to be sure to check the box here for valid data only, because when I was looking at this before, and I'll show you really quickly, there were some invalid data points which skew the results quite a bit. So it looks like it's all clustered over here because there are probably some invalid data points. So maybe this is okay for our current uses. So just know that it starts at 0 micrograms at this point here. So it does look like, okay, wind speeds of over 12 knots, they do in general seem to lead to higher PM events when PM events do happen. So that looks like there is a positive relationship. Here's a line. This is our regression line just showing a similar positive relationship. In general, higher wind speeds lead to higher PM10. Okay, so let's say we were on the day of, what kind of conditions would we have seen, and what would have helped us understand, if we are in the vicinity of this PM10 event, do we need to be worried about transport into our area? So let's zoom in, get here to the high desert, and here's the Owens Valley. I'm going to switch us over to PM10. We can look at that data here, and I'll get us over to our date of interest. The 8th. Okay, so that was coincidental that the 11 o'clock hour popped up, and this is that 6:34, right when wind speeds really started to pick up, we see the high PM10 values occurring, and this is 364 micrograms. So we can see that there's most likely a dust plume associated with this. It looks like winds are traveling down through the Owens Valley. Now, would a community south of the area also be impacted? We don't have any monitors here. Of course, if it's a dust event, you could always look out your window and just see, is there dust in my area? But maybe it hasn't headed there quite yet. You want to know, do we need to be concerned a few hours down the line? So something you could do is you could use the tools here run a high split trajectory, and just at a couple heights. These are in meters above ground level. So let's start at 50 and 100. And I'm just going to do a positive 4-hour trajectory from our source of dust. So in 4 hours, where is that dust and polluted air likely to head? And you just go ahead and click. And in this case, it looks like the wind speeds will likely carry some of that pollution down into the ridge crest area. So this is a way where even if you don't have data right in your area, you can say, is that headed my way? And maybe at this point, you would want to issue a public notice that perhaps the public should stay inside for the afternoon. Even if you don't see dust in the area right now, it might be headed your way. Now, you may also want to find out, okay, so this one event, we've got a handle on it, but is this a common wind direction for high dust events? Is this something that happens quite often that we need to be aware of? And you can use things like this Windrose tool, where you can either plot a rose of the wind or a polluted rose. Okay, and you can see, is this a common occurrence? So let's go back, and I'm going to do about, let's see, 1 year's worth of data, just wind data, so not pollution. Let's see if I can mute. Caller, sure you are going to mute you if you need to speak up and ask a question. Please use the raise your hand feature. We have a little static there. Okay, so to run a Windrose, you can click anywhere that you have a wind barb. So just at the source of that wind barb, give it a moment, and I'm going to zoom in so we can see a little more detail. And what the Windrose shows you, when the petals on the rose are longer, that means that the wind is more often comes from that direction. And let us close this so I can see my scale. The color scale, these different shades of blue, correspond to wind speed. So we can see that wind most often is coming directly out of the north, and the wind speeds associated with that direction are shaded here. So it looks like most of the time we see this light to medium color here. You also see some faster wind speeds also come out of the northeast. We can run that at any station that has a wind barb, including if it does not have any PM10.
Natalie?
Yes.
Excuse me, I'm trying to follow along with you.
Okay.
And it just keeps telling me, and maybe I'm just looking at the wrong sites, I'm trying to make a rose, and it keeps telling me data not available for this site or at this site. Am I just clicking on the wrong ones?
Well, you have to make sure that you're at a station that has a wind barb associated with it. So if it has wind data, there are some stations, let's see, here's one here, it doesn't report wind data, so if I try to click there, I can see data not available. Sometimes if you're zoomed out a little too far, and you're not perfect with your clicking, which how could you be, it thinks you're clicking on a station nearby that maybe has other data, but it isn't showing up on the map right now. So make sure you're zoomed in pretty closely before you click to create a wind barb, and I hope that will solve the problem.
Well, it's actually something I've tried before, and I'm doing it on sites that have wind barbs. So I probably have something turned on or turned off, right?
That's weird.
Okay, so you just make sure that the tools panel is pulled out, and then you see the tools, and you have the Windrose tool selected, and then wind and display on map.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then a date range. I'm not sure if you use the default date range. I think it defaults to 3 months. There may be a minimum amount of data that has to be available before it can create a Windrose. So maybe reducing your date range here in the begin and end time might help.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and you are clicked on the wind selection under parameters.
Yes. I'll just keep trying. It could just be slow too, because we've got so much stuff going on through my computer now, trying to watch you and do this at the same time. So I'll continue to try to follow along and see if maybe it catches up.
Okay, yeah, and that's definitely something we can troubleshoot. If it's still giving you trouble when we're wrapping up, I can check with my development team and see if they have any tips or tricks that I can share.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, yeah, thank you. Okay, so those are the wind roses, but we can also create pollution roses based on the parameters that we're currently looking at in that panel I just closed earlier. So it populated this with PM10 because that's what we're looking at on the map. So if I highlight that and then run a pollution rose for the same time period, we have an updated scale here, so it's no longer showing the wind speeds as the scale. These are the concentrations for PM10. And I'm going to zoom in so we can get a better look at this rose here. And again, of course, the wind is most often coming out of the north. But interestingly, it looks like the higher concentrations often occur when the wind is coming out of the north-northeast, not just the north. So when the wind is coming out of the north-northeast, we see both high wind speeds and high PM10. So that's a pretty, nitpicky. Is it the north or north-northeast direction? But it might be important to note, for, will it lead to a high PM10 event, something that minuscule? Okay, let's see here. Another event that I want to look at was more recent. It was in August, and it was where I believe it was called the Silver Fire in the San Jacinto Mountains. It led to high ozone and high PM10 in the Coachella Valley. So let's go ahead and clear this out, get that all cleaned up, and get refreshed. I want to pull up ozone data so we can look at our event on the date at the time. Okay, so let's get all zoomed in. And I want to see our fire, see what we were working with, and the HMS smoke plume. So we see the smoke plume. It looks like the smoke traveled through the Banning Pass here and down into the Coachella Valley. According to this, this is drawn by people, these smoke plumes, people over at the HMS hazard mapping system. So they may not be perfect, but at least some of the smoke looks like it may be in the Coachella Valley and perhaps even farther down. But we do have some additional tools, layers that we can overlay and see if there is any more information. Things like visible satellite imagery. So if we pull this up, this is from the MODIS. There's a feed that we're pulling into AirNowTech for true color imagery. And you can see the plume here. It looks lighter in color, light gray. It looks like it probably is impacting this whole area here in possibly even down by the station. Difficult to tell. So this was the Terra pass. That passes in the late morning. However, there's also an afternoon pass called the Aqua, different satellite, Aqua Pass, and that has a lot more complete picture of the actual smoke plume headed here into the high desert, but you can still see some haziness down in the Coachella Valley. So it looks like there was smoke in the area, and because we're also looking at visible satellite imagery, you can see it was really a clear day in the whole Southern California region. So, what happens when we have sunny and fairly warm conditions, we have good conditions for ozone production. Now, a lot of folks out there know that smoke contains wildfire smoke, and it contains particulate matter, but it also contains ozone precursors. So those precursors may have contributed to this high ozone, 1 hour ozone reading here at this station. Let's find out what station that was here. The Indio Jackson station. So again, if maybe you are a local community that is near this station or in the valley, and you can see and smell smoke, ozone may also be an issue on a sunny hot day, in addition to particulate matter. And these are really the two events I want to discuss. I'll also mention that AirNowTech is not the only source for metadata. It's a good place to find a lot of metadata and air quality data overlaid together. However, there's a lot of other good free resources out there, like the weather.gov website. So, for instance, if you were to have haze in your area, you want to see, is this affecting the entire Coachella Valley? Let me just go through, see if I can create a new tab here. I've got my WebEx sitting away. There we go. New tab. I'm going to jump over to weather.gov into the Indo forecast area. And I just want to show you that there are other tools there that you can use. So there's the 3-day history, so you can see what were conditions like a couple days ago. And then there's also more local weather, so that link right there. And here we have some met stations at multiple locations throughout the area. You can see things like the sky weather. I bet that when there was smoke in the valley, they would have reported haze or even smoke here, so you can see what different local areas are being impacted. And that might also help you to understand, is there impact in the valley and is it headed in my direction? If you know that this La Quinta 2 station is north of you and you have northerly winds, then you can assume that it's probably going to be bringing that into your area. So, and I think I had questions from chat. Let me see here. Okay, so it looks like LW is Leroy. He doesn't have a microphone. Is this what area agencies use with their exceptional event demonstrations? I think that AirNowTech is where a number of agencies start. I know that here at our company we have done some exceptional event analysis, and I think AirNowTech is a component, but I don't think they're using screenshots directly from, say, the Navigator tool to demonstrate this. They're probably pulling out data, final data from AQS, and overlaying that on GIS maps, and then overlaying metadata and satellite data, things that they need. They're putting them together. But I think the most important thing for exceptional event analysis is to use the AQS data. which right now has not been fully backfilled into AirNow. But the good news is that we are backfilling AQS data right now. Hopefully later this fall it will all be backfilled, and we'll continue to update it throughout the winter and on into the future as new data flows into the AQS system. So that's pretty neat. Good question. All right, any phone questions out there? Helen, I'm not sure if anyone out in the room has a question.
No, nobody has any question here.
Okay. If there are any other events or dates or types of data that you're interested in covering, let me know. But for right now, I'm going to move ahead and show you some agencies out there might be ready to begin issuing, say, AQI forecasts during events. If you feel comfortable doing that, even if it's more of a nowcast, hey, air quality is unhealthy right now, and you want to get that information out, you can do that through AirNowTech. The first step would be to create a new reporting area, or forecast area. They're the same thing. You can have a forecast city, forecast area if you don't send data into AirNow, but you want to actually forecast the value, that's fine too. You would just send a request to me or any of the folks here at the Data Management Center and just ask to have a new reporting area. We can set it up for you. And if you do that, I set up here a little default form that we can look at under this agency. So here's a potential forecast form. No forecast will be issued through this, at least not at this time. But for instance, Bishop Paiute may want to issue PM25 or ozone forecast. We have some tools. The NOAA ozone model provides forecast guidance. So for ozone, you can have this forecast guidance here. It has predictions for your local area. And then there are other models out there for PM25, but we don't have any guidance here in the forecast form. But you could enter a forecast of just a category. So if air quality looks like it's been unhealthy and you want to alert the public, you could simply enter U for unhealthy, and if you think it'll be USG perhaps the next day, you could just enter that category. You don't have to enter in an exact number. So that could be a good way to get the word out. Forecasts that are entered in AirNowTech, they would go out through airnow.gov, different web services, like through the AirNow developer tools that I mentioned at the end of my first my slides, and the public can be alerted that way. And then there's also a free tool agencies can use to notify their base called EnviroFlash. There are some management pages I'm not going to go into quite yet, but I will go to the sign-up page. If you have a forecast city in AirNowTech and you want to use this free service to notify them, you can join. But you have to have a forecast city first. And there's a sign-up page at EnviroFlash.info where we have once the map loads, there are little dots representing every single forecast city that you can choose from. So, for instance, there's one in East Riverside County. I believe this is run by South Coast Air Quality Management District. But there's no reason why you couldn't have a local community forecast city as well. And maybe you only issue forecasts when you're concerned about, a dust event or smoke event or, an ozone, perhaps a transport event from a more populated area. you don't have to issue forecasts year-round. It could just be on a sort of unhealthy air days only. And it looks like I have another question through chat. Do you need to register with AirNow to get the data? Yes, to use the AirNowTech system, you do need an account through AirNowTech. However, all you would need to do to get an account is go to the login page and click this link here to request an account. If you don't already have an agency created for your air agency, your tribal agency, then just when you go to request, be sure to put that in the comment box and say, hey, please create a new agency for, and then give us the full name so we can use that, and we'll get that created and have your account under it. And once you have that set up, you'll have full access to the navigator and the query tools. And if you want to forecast, you can have that forecaster access as well. Good question. All right. And I am recording this, so I will make it available to Helen and Melinda and the other organizers to share with you. And you guys can look at that afterwards if you have anything you want to check out again. But before we wrap up, are there any other questions out there?
Hey, Natalie, I was wondering more about the forecasting.
The forecasting? So like weather models or how to put a forecast together?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a lot of the things that I was covering in the retrospective were like transport events. So if you see that air quality is bad in a certain area near you, then it looks like you can use the trajectories. If you say from this fire, if you're also worried about PM 2.5, perhaps transporting to your local community, then you can use this trajectory tool and say, okay, I'll do a 4-hour forward trajectory. Where is this smoke headed? So it looks like this is a source of smoke. Click on the map. And 4 hours forward from this time, so that would be at 4 p.m. It looks like the smoke's going to be headed in this direction here. So that can help you to understand, okay, there's some high concentrations perhaps, let's get over to PM 2.5. It's really important to know what conditions are at the ground level. It says that there's 1 microgram here, but again, based on the ozone concentrations, it looks like there is some impact of the smoke at ground level. So you can assume, okay, if there's some smoke, there's PM 2.5 in smoke, maybe I want to issue a forecast of USG, unhealthy for sensitive group. Hey, there might be some smoke headed into your area. Now, if you're using, let's log back in and go to the forecast form. If you're using the forecast form, a great part of that is the discussion tool, where you can enter in what your reasoning is. So you can say, hey, I'm forecasting unhealthy for sensitive group because smoke may be headed into your area. You could also check, we have this called the Action Day box. So that just tells people, hey, heads up, there's an action day, you need to pay attention to the air quality today. Does that help, or are there other details you're interested in?
I guess I was more thinking that it was a lot more complicated.
Well, I think for transport events, these are the things that you can look at. These are things that we would look at for transport if you know air quality is bad. Now, if you're worried about really localized events, like it's not coming from another area into your area, that's a whole different way of forecasting. So we actually do have some tools, and maybe, Helen, I think we were talking about it might be worth going in more in depth into these things later on in another setting. But we do have some training videos that cover hours of information on air quality forecasting, different meteorological things to look at in weather models and at ground level, in what you're looking at right now, things like stability. So stability would be, if you have an unstable atmosphere, that would be like during monsoon season. If you have a lot of thunderstorms moving through, yes, you can get high wind events and you can get wind blown gusts. However, a lot of times we see that ozone, even though it's really hot and mostly sunny, when the atmosphere is very unstable and it's mixing quite a bit in the late afternoon, ozone levels will get cleaned out. So these are some things that you can do. You can watch these videos and sort of get some ideas. There are a lot of free websites out there, and I'm going to just bring this other window over that I had pulled up. So our forecasters in-house, we've created this website for just our group to look at, where we've gathered all of these publicly available web pages. So things like different air quality models that you can look at, aerosol models. This is available through University of Athens in Europe. There's a Canadian air quality model. Let's click on that and check it out. Let's pull up our maximum ozone. And they measure their ozone in 6-hour increments. I guess I can't highlight that. They measure ozone in 6-hour averages. So it's a little different from the 8-hour. But, for instance, you can animate it and see, okay, what does their model say is going on with ozone? There's that. Let's go back over. Ozone Center. There's a lot of information available through NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, and the National Weather Service is part of that. Things like the current weather analysis. So are there any fronts in my area that maybe you need to be aware of? And that would of course feed back over. Once you have a good understanding of the concepts in the training videos, then you would go forward and look at things like the weather analysis and what the models are saying. So there's a lot of meteorological, upper air and other conditions that you would need to be aware of to produce a complete air quality forecast.
That's cool.
Yeah. And just so you know, these videos, they're a little old, but the concepts in them are still current. So even though, I think they were made, oh gosh, maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, we're still using the same concept. The actual content is still completely valid for forecasting.
Oh, we have a question. What's the MapGen software?
MapGen software? Oh, let's see, where is that? This year? Oh, wow, that's from 2002. I think this is software to create the old style AirNow map. And I don't think this should we should probably get rid of this link because that's not really very useful for anybody anymore.
I have a quick question, just because I like the Windrose and how you're able to show the concentration in relation to the wind direction and possibly even wind speed. I know I can do that with my data logging system or data collection system, and also I have a GIS department that I can just give them data and they can help me do it. But what other, or for a tribe that might not have a data logging system, would they still be able to produce those sorts of windroses? What do you really need for that if you're not submitting your data to AirNow?
Yeah, I don't know of any other, third-party software out there that creates the Windroses. There may be some.
There's the, excuse me, there's the Windrose program that's free from Lakes Environmental.
Okay.
It's right. It's clunky, but it does it.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I do have a question through chat, another one. Where does the forecast information go? Do you publish it yourself to the public? So the answer to that, let me pull up AirNow.gov. I'm not sure if you guys ever go to AirNow.gov. It's the public website where we have our air quality maps. Is this the forecast map? So I guess the first answer is that it would be plotted on the map if you issued a forecast for your area, say it shows orange, red, whatever you forecast. And then for the current AQI, we have those maps too. So even if you don't have a monitor right in your area, they can see, hey, the air quality is poor in our area. So you have additional maps including ozone, PM2.5, and animations. Now, the forecast information, that also goes out to EnviroFlash if you participate. And then we have the AirNow developer tools. Remember that website's going to be deployed sometime next month. And it will be replacing this website, so don't pay too much attention, but I just want to show you what our older feeds look like. We have this website called AirNow Gateway. This will be replaced, but there are data feeds and web services that you can pull from. I wish I could show you the developer tools website, but it's not available right now. There are a lot of people using these free services to create applications for smartphones, tablets, websites, little widgets on a website, for instance. And I know that EPA actually has their own AirNow app. So you can go to an app store through iPhone or Android. Their app store, search for that, and EPA has an app where people can get their forecast right on their smartphone. And some local media will also they also get these feeds, and they can show it on the local news, or if you call an action day, local radio can send that information to them, get them clued in to EnviroFlash or AirNow.gov. They can pay attention to that. If they see an action day, they can get the word out to the public as well. And let me click over to, I think I want to clarify where the discussion in particular goes. So let's see here, find a, do we have any forecasts? I believe South Coast does have this, no, do they not have a discussion? Let me go over, I know Sacramento has a discussion a little farther, but let's find them. There we go. So let's see. Folsom, air quality is pretty good, but you can see here, if you type in a discussion in that box on the forecast form, it's going to show up here on this page. And those third-party applications can also display that discussion information. Also, just really quickly, if there were to be an action day, if you had checked that box, where do I, here we go. If you had checked the box to call an action day for a certain pollutant, then over here, there would be a big red exclamation mark. And let's see if I can find, let's see, here we go. Looks like Beaumont Port Arthur area is called Match Day. There it is. Down there, right next to what pollutant it's responsible for. So if you issue a forecast for more than one pollutant, it will list each one here. But back on this, on the Texas page, it just shows the maximum pollutant, the maximum for each one. Okay. Anyone else out there? With a question?
I have a question.
Sure.
So when we first looked at some data, it looked like some data was showing that has not been verified, and it includes some data that's probably going to be flagged and pulled. Can you describe how that works?
Sure, I will. So AirNow, we have quality control processes on all real-time data. And let me pull up the monitoring station so I can show what this looks like here. Let's look at Sacramento. And looks like they're pulling a little behind, but that's okay. So here, if you go to a monitoring station like I just did, if you go to the agency and then click on a certain monitoring station, you can view the QC criteria.
Well,
so
I can't.
You can too. You should be able to.
But I don't have any sites, so I'm just following along. And
right.
So.
Yeah, so I just went here to the agency's page, and you have access to this. So if you find a neighboring agency, if there's a monitoring site on the map that you're interested in, you can find out what station it is and who reports that data, and then you can go to that agency and pull up their site list and take a look at the information, their QC criteria.
Okay, so.
And maybe I didn't cover how you find out what station is what. I don't think I covered that.
That would be great.
So here, come on. Thought I had a tool. Looks like maybe he doesn't want to work. Anyway, this tool right here, if you click the button, so it looks a little depressive, it looks different. And then if I click on the monitoring station, there he is. I get the name of the station, the AQS code, so I can use that to run a query on the data page. And here's the agency that reports the data. So if you are interested in seeing, hey, it looks like that value should have been quality controlled, it should have been invalidated, then you can use this information, go to South Coast, and let's do that. Go to South Coast, CA3. I'm going to click on the site number, and then I'll find banning for the self-aesthetically. Okay, here's banning. And let's say we don't trust that PM25 information on the map. View the QC codes. And it looks like NO doesn't have any automatic quality control associated with it. But for PM25, we do have some. And these are all of the quality control criteria. So for every single hour, you can have a different quality control setup. So you have your maximum suspect. So if the value is over 100 micrograms, it will be flagged as suspect. If it's over 200 micrograms, it will be flagged as invalid. And there's also a rate of change check and sticking check. We don't like to have PM25 stick. That tells us there's something wrong with the monitor. And then also, it can't be too negative. It can't be more than negative 4.99 micrograms. If the value is flagged as suspect, it's still going to be displayed on the map, and it will actually still be used for the nowcast and reporting on airnow.gov and other public feeds. And what happens is that a human here at the Data Management Center, either myself or one of my colleagues, every hour we go through and we double check all of those quality controlled hourly values. So during business hours, not in the middle of the night, but during business hours we do this. And we decide, okay, it's been flagged as suspect, and one of us, we're all meteorologists, we go and we'll look at the meteorological conditions and also the other monitors in the area and see if it's an outlier, and maybe it's a local event, or maybe it's actually invalid and there's something wrong with the monitor. So if we find that, then we'll mark that as invalid.
And what happens if, for example, she uploads data, well, it's being uploaded always, and then a week from the time she uploads it, she realizes that she uploaded some data that was actually during a QC check, and she wants, but it's not, it doesn't fit into one of these categories to be automatically flagged. So she can go back and pull it at that point?
Yeah, you can. And there's a few ways that you can do that. Probably one of the easiest would be to contact us at the Data Management Center, and we can make that change for you. We can invalidate it and put in a little message for our log saying that this was during maintenance and the data is not considered valid. Another option you have is if you feel comfortable and you want the ability, we have a role for AirNowTech users known as Data Editor. And for data that's coming in under your agency, so if you were to click on sites and you have stations under your agency here, then if you have that data editor role, you can edit the data yourself on the data page. And we have some tutorial videos for that. Let me jump back over to the resources page here under the AirNowTech Improvements link. I'm going to scroll down, and right here. So we have a full video for how you can edit data.
Okay.
Now, to get that data editing role, you need to ask us at the Data Management Center, send us an email or give us a call. Or the third option is to send an updated file to our backfill folder through FTP. So it's similar to where you're sending data for regular ingest into AirNow, but it's a backfill folder, and it will overwrite the flag. So if you want it to be flagged invalid, you can do that way as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And the Windroses did work. I just had to wait for it to refresh.
Oh, okay.
It just was too much going on my computer, so.
Oh, I see, because you're hosting the WebEx, you're showing it there too?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, if you do experience too much lag time, if it's taking a long time even when you're not running WebEx, let me know. I may be able to get some suggestions from our development crew on settings and things like that. Okay. Any other questions? About the AQI, the nowcast, forecasting, anything in general? Sounds quiet.
We don't have any questions.
Okay.
No, getting the data is really great. And so now, can you describe to us, and I don't know, maybe I'm asking all sorts of questions nobody else is interested in, but I'm curious if you could Describe briefly the relationship between AirNow and AQS. Does once data gets into your database, is it automatically sent to AQS?
Good question. And the answer is no. Data that's sent to AirNow stays there and is not sent to AQS. AirNow is just a repository for real-time, non-final data called preliminary. However, we are currently working to backfill AQS data into AirNow. So going from AQS to AirNow so that regulatory data can be queried on the data page or on the report page. Let me go ahead and click on those so you guys see what I'm talking about. So when we have all the AQS data backfilled for the past 3 years, from 2010 through the current available data, then you might be able to select the source to be final only, and then when you run your queries, you'll only receive AQS data back. Now it has to be an AQS for us to have it, and it has to be the past 3 years, so starting in 2010 going forward. We don't have anything older than that. And the backfill is happening right now as we speak. It's going to take a little while because it's a lot of data for the entire nation. So we're making sure we're being very careful in backfilling it. But it should all be available by this winter.
Well, that's great. It'll certainly be a lot easier than getting data out of AQS.
I hope so. Yeah. We won't have some of the information just because AirNow is not really a regulatory venue. So we won't have some information like flow rate and things like that. Things that agencies send to AQS but don't send to AirNow. We're only backfilling some of the parameters, so the air quality parameters and net parameters, but not the actual, flow rate and different monitoring parameters. So if you need that, you'll still have to go to AQS, unfortunately. Okay. I like your question, Melinda. Anyone else out there?
No, we don't have any more questions.
Okay. Well, we can go ahead and end this demonstration and discussion then. And I have been recording this, and I will send the information out to you, Helen and Melinda.